Peace to everybody, back with another video. This is Exit Interview. Radio Pioneer Tom Joyner on why he signed off after 50 years behind the mic. And as you can see here in the screenshot is Tom Joyner himself. Now this man has always gotten my day started every single day when I was listening to WBLK. But ever since he left and Steve Harvey took over, it just broke my heart because, I never expected him to leave WBLK at all, and this man was wonderful. Whatever happens to newspapers and magazines, I'm sorry to say it, but I think radio is next on the list, and we've done it to ourselves. We're not relevant anymore, so now it's whatever happens to newspapers and magazines, and it's sad. And also it says, I'm sorry to say it, but I think radio is next on the list, and we've done it to ourselves. We're not relevant anymore. So this is what Tom Joyner is saying. In 1968, a group of people protested a Tuskegee, Alabama radio station for not playing soul music when the station owner offered the protesters a regular Saturday afternoon slot. 19-year-old Tom Joyner volunteered to DJ. He would remain behind the radio mic for over 50 years. So this happened in 1968. There was a group of people that protested in a Tuskegee, Alabama radio station. So they were upset because there was no soul music during that time. And of course, when the station owner offered the protesters a regular Saturday afternoon slot, Tom Joyner, then, who was 19, volunteered to DJ. He remained behind the mic for over 50 years, so he had put a lot of years into being a DJ. As host of the Tom Joyner Morning Show, the first nationally syndicated black radio program, his mission was to entertain, educate, and empower African Americans. Now 70, Joyner's influence was so profound that when he signed off on December 13th, surprise call-ins to his show that week included Lionel Richie and former President Bill Clinton. So he was host of the Tom Joyner Morning Show, the first nationally syndicated black radio program. He had a mission which was to entertain, educate, and empower African Americans. He is now 70 years old. Joyner's influence was so profound that when he signed off on December 30th of this month, surprise call-ins to his show that week included Lionel Richie and former President Bill Clinton. And I don't see why Bill Clinton would be calling in because, you can never really trust a former president. Excuse me. Everyone is saying the same thing, that they can't believe I'm retiring, says Joyner, who will be succeeded by fellow syndicated morning host Ricky Smiley beginning January 2nd. I guess because I've done so much and stayed so busy. So everyone was saying the same thing, that they can't believe that he was retiring. And of course, Ricky Smiley is going to be taking over beginning January 2nd of next month. I guess because I've done so much and stayed so busy. So Tom Joyner done a lot of things in his life. In the mid-80s, Joyner was christened as the Fly Jock because he hosted a morning show in Dallas and an afternoon show in Chicago, flying back and forth every day for 7 years. In 1994, Joyner struck a deal with ABC Radio Networks to launch the first syndicated morning show with music that prompted another breakthrough. Mainstream advertisers like Southwest Airlines, McDonald's, Procter and Gamble, and Allstate began buying ads on a black radio show. Yeah, so this what happened. Yes, and of course in the mid '80s he was christened as the Flyjack, so he has really done a lot. He hosted a morning show in Dallas and an afternoon show in Chicago. And of course, he was flying back and forth every single day for 7 years. Also, in 1994, Joyner struck a deal with ABC Radio Networks to launch the first syndicated morning show with music. He also had advertisers like Southwest Airlines, McDonald's, Procter and Gamble, and Allstate began buying ads on a black radio show. In carrying out his party with a purpose mission for the last 25 years, Joyner picked up another nickname, the hardest working man in radio. The Radio Hall of Famer took his morning show on the road to various markets, aka sky shows, established the annual Allstate Tom Joyner Family Reunion Music Lifestyle Expo in Orlando, founded cross-platform entertainment company Reach Media Inc. and raised more than $65 million through the Tom Joyner Foundation to support students attending historically black colleges and universities. So he's done a lot. He raised $65 million through the Tom Joyner Foundation, which he still has. He also helps support students attending historically black colleges and universities. So this is what he still does now. He had another nickname. It was called the hardest working man in radio. And of course, he was the Radio Hall of Famer, took his morning show on the road to various markets, aka sky shows. So he's done it all in his lifetime. The Foundation's chief fundraiser, the Fantastic Voyage Cruise, will set again in March 2020 with headlines Usher, Jill Scott, Alicia Keys, and Captain Joyner. While his radio mic may be turned off, he will continue working with the Foundation. Yes, so even though his mic may be turned off, he will continue working with the Foundation. The Foundation's chief fundraiser, the Fantastic Voyage Cruise, and of course it will set again in March 2020 of next year. And of course the headliners will be Usher, Jill Scott, Alicia Keys, and Captain Joyner. When I came along, you didn't have a lot of listening choices. Now you can get anything you want, anytime you want, anywhere you want, and you don't have to wait for radio or television to do it for you. That's why I've decided to retire. Whatever happens to newspapers and magazines, I'm sorry to say it, but I think radio is next on the list, and we've done it to ourselves. We're not relevant anymore. That's across the board. Black radio has probably been more relevant than any other format because we concentrate on informing and empowering our community. Yeah, so this is what he was saying. And of course, it had to be with the media, the newspapers, and now he's saying that we're not relevant anymore. That's across the board. Black radio has probably been more relevant than any other format because we concentrate on informing and empowering our community. Yes, so that's what because, concentrating on your community, yes, it does happen. But, this is why he was retiring, because of it not being relevant anymore. Every day was a highlight. My worst day on the air was anybody else's very good day. practically every day something would happen. Something was done, or people would tell me they appreciated what I'm doing in the community. Now that's a good highlight. I'm not a person that looks back a lot, though. I haven't listened to a show that I've done since I stopped flying back and forth. And so every day was a highlight for him. And of course, his worst day on the air was anybody else's very good day as well. He also practically every day something would happen, something was done, or people would tell me they appreciated what I'm doing in the community. So he was helping out his community as well, even though they would appreciate him. And he also says, now that's a good highlight. I'm not a person that looks back a lot, though. I haven't listened to a show that I've done since I stopped flying back and forth. So yeah, between Dallas and Chicago, all that back and forth flying every 5 days a week to do a show, it took a pretty good amount of time for him. The big question was, can you remain local? Black radio has always been involved in the community, so we approached it as a local show that reflected the entire African American country. Every black community has the same wants and needs, and that's what black radio has always been about. To help with that, for example, I'd say what time it was, but not the hour, like it's 17 past the hour, and I hit a button to cue the radio station, and the station would announce it was 17 past the hour of 8 o'clock. People didn't know, they thought I was right there. People listening to Howard Stern knew his show originated from New York. We fooled people for a long time. So yeah, and of course there was a question, can you remain local? All right. Well, yeah, it can. And of course, so we approached it as a local show that reflected the entire African American country. Every black community has the same wants and needs. So yeah, so they wanted everything like the wants and needs, and they deserve it, literally. And of course, it's all the wants and needs for the radio show, yes. Oh, here it is. And also, he would say it's 17 past the hour, so yeah, it would be like 17 past the hour at 8 o'clock. People didn't know, they thought I was right there. People listening to Howard Stern knew his show originated from New York. And of course, he also said we fooled people for a long time. Stevie Wonder, he performed live on a Sky show in Miami in 2005, but he never did an interview or stopped by the studio. I wanted Steve really bad. Yeah, so Stevie Wonder did a performance on a Sky show in Miami in 2005. Stevie Wonder never did an interview or stopped by the studio at all. And of course, he also says, I wanted Stevie really bad, and of course, it's laughs. It was just a joke, that's all. He was just making a funny joke, that's all. This time I won't be on the air, but I think voter turnout in the African American community is going to be recorded breaking again. I'll still be pushing people to vote, but because Trump is so controversial, so busy tweeting from his toilet stool, he's doing the work for me. I'm sorry to laugh at that last one, but that was funny. Okay, he said this time I won't be on the air, but I think voter turnout in the African American community is going to be a record breaking again. He also says I'll still be pushing people to vote, but because Trump is so controversial, so busy tweeting from his toilet stool, he's doing the work for me. So he's doing the work for Tom Joyner. So it's like, I know it's funny, but I am sorry that it had to be like that, but that's what it was. And of course, like I said, Tom Joyner has always gotten my day started, but now that he's no longer on the radio, and of course, Steve Harvey took over WBLK, like I said, and I mean, it's just so sad to see Tom Joyner go. And he was a wonderful man and did everything for his community. Leave your comments below. I am out.